All right, welcome back to It's Time Picks. We have UFC 308 back in Abu Dhabi. We have Ilya Topuria going against Max Holloway, and co-main is Whitaker versus Chimaev. And this is, overall, it's a pretty good card. There should be a lot of really entertaining fights, a lot of to pay attention to. It is an early card because it is in Abu Dhabi, so early Saturday morning. Joey, how you feeling about this one?
I'm excited. There's definitely some good entertaining fights, and I'll never, you know, complain about an early card. So it's not super early, so I get to have a cup of coffee, get everything all together. So make sure everyone that watches get whatever bets or DFS that you play on any platform all set. Because remember, the card starts at 10 a.m.
Mhm. So with that, we'll jump straight in. Very first fight after the order kind of flip-flopped a little bit. We got Renat Fakhretdinov going against Carlos Leo. And as always, we will kick it over to Joey to start us off.
So this is a short notice for Carlos Leal. He is from the PFL. He also fought in the LFA. I like him as a prospect. I do not like this matchup for him as a whole. My heart's gonna be pulling for him because I've been a fan of him since PFL and LFA. Full camp, I think this fight could be maybe a tad bit closer, but this is how I rate it right now. I think Nats gonna pretty much hug him the whole time. Definitely try to get control and takedowns. But my only worry, I will say, and I give Leo this prop. If Fournette slows down like he did in his last two fights, Leo can throw his hands. So that's the only thing I will slightly say. Confidence factor for Fournette, I'll probably give him like a 7.5, 8. Because I think, he's definitely gonna be the way better wrestler. He's gonna be the stronger fighter. But Leo was scheduled to fight, but he wasn't scheduled to fight no one near to this caliber of a wrestler and forward pressure of Fakardinov. I forgot to write his price down tag. What's his price tag? Like nine? What's that? Like 9,000? Hit or miss?
89, 89.
89. So if you definitely think that his forward pressure is going to do it and he can rack up, let's say 5 to 7 takedowns, then maybe get like 8 to 10 minutes control time. He could definitely get close to paying off. Just depends on if you like dogs. I think this is going to be a heavy favorite type of card to an extent, but I think there are some sneaky dog plays you can get to. We'll get to during those fights, but I am on Renat Fakardinov.
I agree with a lot of that. I don't dis. There are some things I disagree
And you
with.
thought I was going to go with the dog, didn't you?
No, I'm all over Fakhretdinov. He in a win for as far as DFS goes. He has not scored less than 99. The one fight that he did, he had a draw. He scored 67. If he had gotten the decision, it would have been 97. So I mean, he at 8,900, he should be a lock for any type of lineup. If you think he's going to win, I think he's going to win. He is a lock for me. This is another type of matchup where he'll probably get three, four, five, six takedowns, bunch of control time, some strikes, and it kind of
Sure.
just all adds up. So I have no confidence in Leal. He has not faced anybody of this type of caliber competition. I understand that the LFA and the PFL are both, highly rated outside of this, but the fighters just aren't the same. So he is going to get a rude awakening when he comes into this fight. Yeah, both of us are on the favorite in Fakhretdinov. Next up, we have a fight that I'm not too excited about. It kind of just going to depends. We got Bruno Silva going against Ishmael Nawardiv. And the reason I don't like this fight is because Silva has fought or lost three times in a row, and he has not really looked the greatest in any of those fights. I'm not really sure what happened to the, knockout machine that he was, but he kind of just completely fell off, and he struggles really hard with grapplers. Nawardiv can kind of take this anywhere he wants. He is a prospect. He does not have, the greatest competition, similar to Leal. Comes from just other promotions. So no, he's had four fights in the UFC. So
Yeah, me
um,
too.
um, it was just a
He was
while
young.
ago.
He
He's
was
coming.
very
Yeah,
young.
yeah. He was. Yeah, I think it was like 20. He'd be like 24.
Mm, hit or miss.
So he went 2-2 during that time. His very last fight was against Sean Brady. He lost that, but he didn't look terrible in that fight. I fully expect him to be, kind of ready to go in this one. And Bruno Silva is a really good fight to target for him. So I expect him to get this done. It'll probably be close at times, but as far as DFS goes, without a finish, I'm not sure how well this scores.
So I honestly think Nurdi is on this card because of the location of the fight. I really do. Like, he's been win loss, win loss, win loss. He's a talented prospect, but I think if he does get to the wrestling and grappling, he can easily, and I mean easily, control and win this fight with no type of issue. And maybe he can even get a submission. Because guess what? 7 of 11 Bruno Silva's losses are by submission. So maybe a sneaky submission prop could be live. Maybe I'll look into that, maybe, but I don't know. DFS wise, like I said, if you tell me it's a 15-minute striking fight, this fight's going to be a complete fade. Because without a finish, I don't think neither of them probably clear over 70-ish. But if Nurdeep does mix in the takedowns, I think he's live to get a submission.
for sure. So the odds are really close in this fight. It's almost a pick 'em, but both of us are on the slight favorites in Nordiv.
Wait, you said the line's a pickle?
It's close to it, at least
Oh, I
last
see
time.
minus. Yeah, I see minus 165. Nurdeep.
Okay,
Live,
so
live.
some of them are skewed a little bit. Money's coming in on Nardiv.
Yes,
But
sir.
next up we've got Fareed Basharat going against Victor Hugo. And Joey, I'd assume that you're gonna be on Basharat, but let's hear what you got to say.
So, I only thing I'll say about this line, when I usually do my write up, I usually do it Sunday or Monday. I usually get all lines together. When I saw it, Basharat was a minus 550. And I was like, you know what? Basharat, he's a well-rounded guy, better boxing, way better wrestler. BJJ, I would give Hugo because Hugo is a creative grappler per se, but everything else is pure Basharat. I think Basharat can be the minute winner when it comes to straight shot boxing, but he's got to be careful. Hugo does have decent power for flyweight. Um, but the only thing I'll say is like now the line's minus 750. Like that's like don't get me wrong, that's some type of shit you see at Bellator or PFL type of lines, type of crazy shit. And don't get me wrong, I like Basharat. I am picking Basharat. Um, it just determines what type of style we're gonna get. If we're gonna get Basharat just striking, which I think he could definitely do it that way, he won't get nowhere close 9600. But if he's gonna do what I think he's gonna do is try to chain takedowns, try to win top control and everything else, he might get close. Take off 9600. He's to me, I think he is a parlay piece. Maybe I wouldn't put him in nothing bigger than a three-legger because anything could happen in fights. But I got Basharat.
I have Basharat as well. I actually think that he is better everywhere in this fight. Hugo is not up to this level, at least not yet. Actually, I don't think he'll ever get there. But Basharat at 9,600 is going to be a fade for me. I just don't trust him to have enough action to score well enough to pay off 9,600. I like other options better, and that's just kind of how I feel about it. But I am on Basharat, and I fully expect him to get the job done.
By decision.
Yes. So both of us are on Fareed Basharat. Next up, we've got Kennedy and Chekwu going against Chris Barnett. I hate this fight for several reasons. I don't think it's fair. This is like putting David versus Goliath. You have an 8-inch height and reach advantage. Chris Barnett is fucking tiny. Kennedy Nzechukwu is huge. 6'5" against 5'9". It's just not right. I don't know how Barnett is going to get into the pocket and get this done. Even with his little spinning kicks that he does, I don't even can he even get his foot up that high.
You might be able to get near the titty area.
So this is Kennedy all day, and this is a pure GPP piece because we've seen Kennedy come out and destroy someone in round one, and we've seen the majority of his fights just kind of sit there and jab, 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 and score really poorly for DFS. And that's the way that I'm leaning. I think he just kind of sits on the outside because Barnett's going to have no way to get inside, and he's just going to keep him there and outpoint him.
So another thing, Kennedy started at minus 550 during my breakdown. Now he is a minus 700. That is absolutely absurd. Even though Kennedy is the better fighter, the only possible way Barnett does this, he better have wrestling shoes on. That is the only way. That's the only
No,
way he wins. Barnett's
you're
the
not going
only
to be
way
able
he
to.
wins.
He's not going to be able to wrestle him. It's just
That's
not
the
going to
only
happen.
chance he has. That's all I'm saying. Like, if he wants to and get close to maybe hitting the chin, unless Kennedy, bends down and says, "Go ahead and hit me," I'm fading this fight. I've seen Kennedy fight live. He can look good at one point, or he can look like Frankenstein trying to throw a punch and just do one jab, one jab, one jab. So I'm probably fading this fight, and I just don't trust Kennedy at that price. That's just ridiculous. I don't care who he's fighting. That's just nah.
Yeah, you'd have to have a Allberg type fight when he beat him back in 2021.
That was a look.
So both of us are on Kenny and Chekwu Kennedy, and we do not endorse him for DFS.
Mm-mm.
So next up, we have Abus Magomedov going against Bruno Ferreira, Mr. Hulk. And we are both on the same pick for this one. Joey is going to start us off. There might be a flag on this one, so let's hear it.
So I'm gonna plant my motherfucking flag. If you haven't seen it, you can find it on my Twitter at Joe DFS Betting. And my planted flag is my dude who I've been on before the UFC. My dude who I say was gonna beat RoboCop. That man, Bruno the Hawk Ferreira. See, I rolled my R's on that one. Um, Look, I think Abus is fraudulent. Like, if it gets out of maybe round one,
Dude,
we'll see.
Ferreira
I won't
hasn't
see.
even gone out of round
I
one.
know, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to get people, the little thing of the fight. People want to, I don't know people this. Ferreira is actually a very good sambo artist. And if Booz tries to clinch, guess what? He's probably getting tossed to the ground. Ferreira is also a black belt. So Booz better watch out for that. But I, I don't want to, too hard, but I think there's a live chance, seeing how Ferreira fights, he might be live for 60 seconds, depending on how he comes out. But I do like Ferreira. I like him to win inside the distance because he could definitely get a sub if a boost tries to shoot an ugly takedown. He could also chin check the living shit out of him, and a boost could be waking up looking at the stars. Um, I'm over Ferreira. He's my favorite dog. He's my planet flag. Once I think Drake already knew. Once he saw the card, he knew who my planet flag was.
I don't really have much else to add because I'm also on Ferreira. I don't know why he isn't the favorite in this fight because Abus is not that great and he's got absolutely zero cardio. Yeah, no, we haven't even seen all of Ferreira's skills yet,
Mm-mm.
and it's kind of scary to think about that. So we also don't really know what's going to happen if it does go into the later rounds because in 5 fights in the UFC, he's never made it out of the first round. He's had first round finishes, and he's been finished in his only loss. So that said, this should end early no matter what. This is one of those must target fights.
Yep.
And we're all over Ferreira as a dog. It's an excellent play. So
And if you want to play, if you're a type of person that wants to play him safe because you don't know if he'll get knockout or submission, his inside the distance plus 175, but his knockout's like plus 250.
that's kind of crazy to me. But both of us are on the dog in Bruno Ferreira. Next up, we have Mick DeBeck Orelby going against Mateusz Rebecki. And I'm glad I get to talk about this first because Rebecki pissed me off last fight.
Yeah, he pissed
Actually,
everyone the fuck
pretty
off.
sure he pissed everybody off going against Diego Ferreira, who just completely gave him an ass whooping. Uh, Rebecki had been just absolutely dominant in all of his UFC fights until this one, well, until the last one, and we don't really know exactly what happened. He just got completely shown up. And now he draws another guy who has looked absolutely dominant in 2 fights in the UFC in Orelby. And this fight, I mean, this is an interesting fight because if we don't get any wrestling in this fight's probably not going to score well. Um, I could very well see and understand, first or second round finish possibly. I just don't necessarily see it because both of these guys like to wrestle. If the wrestling cancels out, I've got Orelbi no matter what. But if the wrestling cancels out, Orelbi is the better striker. So I think no matter what, he gets the job done. But the way we've seen Orelbi fight is just so scary. His pressure is he's just constantly in your face, and it like messes with your mind. And when he's got people pushed up against the cage, they just can't get back up. So I, I'd like to say that Rebecca is going to get back in the win column because of how dominant he has been. I just don't see it happening.
I'm sorry. And I remember I don't know if we were on different sides on his UFC debut. He fought Eros Medic. I know Medic's your
Yes.
boy. And I remember saying, I'm picking Orbai because he looks like a fucking caveman. And look, you know, you got to do the caveman to beat him. You got to put the caveman to sleep. And no one has so far. He hasn't lost in a very long time. He's on an 8 fight win streak. And that was by a split decision, in which he could have won and still be undefeated. But the only time I think Rebecca's going to have a chance in this fight, he better hope one of those overhand punches land and hope he sleeps Orbai. Because if the wrestling cancels, Orbai is going to clinch him, probably land some dirty boxing, maybe get a finish round two, round three, maybe round three because Rebecca's cardio dropped off a cliff. I don't know what I'm doing for DFS 9100. If he gets to the first takedown and he just starts ragdolling him, then
I'm playing him no
9100.
matter what.
Huh? You're playing him? You said
I'm
you're
playing no matter what. You can't, you have to. I mean, he scored 123 and 107 in his two wins. Right? If you expect anything like that, you have to play him.
yeah. Like, what if wrestling cancels? Then it's just pure strikes.
Do you honestly think that it will? Because I don't.
Maybe early, maybe the first one or two takedowns.
Plus, we
Maybe.
saw Rebecca gas out. Orlby doesn't gas out.
No. Him and Brenner, that was a good fight though. Um, but yeah, I'm on Orabai. I don't know. I'm trying. This is a big fight card. I'm may try to get contrarian on some things, but this is one that if I do fade, I have a feeling that I know I'm probably going to be slapping myself not having him in my main line. But all depends on the fight goes.
For sure.
But
So
he's definitely a parlay piece.
both of us are on Orlby to get this one done. Next up, we have a potential contrarian fight. Actually, we have Jeff Neal going against Rafael dos Anjos, and I know that there's going to be a handful of people on RDA. But Joey, tell me why you're on Neal.
Neil's my dude. He was almost my Planet Flag. I've been on him since he got into the UFC. I don't like the price tag at 92. Um, so if I had to make a bunch of lines. Am I taking a stab? If I'm doing 100 lines, am I going to take some stabs on RDA? Maybe. Maybe some. 7K. And the crazy thing is, he actually, during the fight on Saturday, he's fighting on his birthday. He's turning 40. And, you know, he didn't look too bad against Gamrot. He fought against Gamrot. Gamrot won. He, you know, got his ass handed to him against Luke. You know, that's a little bit concerning-ish to an extent because this Luke hasn't been the same. And we all knew that he was going to absolutely steamroll Barberina. That's nothing. And he didn't look too bad against Fiziev until Fiziev just landed one of those shots in round five. But all depends how RDA is motivated. Now he's up at 170, and Neil did hand a whooping to Luke very terribly. He fucking, I don't know. Ever since that, Luke hasn't been the same. But I'm on Neil, but to me for DFS, if I'm making a bunch of lines, which I usually never do, um, it's probably dog or pass. If you think RDA can maybe get to the grappling and maybe win some control time, then maybe it's worth a play, but I'm probably fading this fight.
And this is exactly why I said this is a potential contrarian fight because I have Neal winning, but I do think this is a dog or pass fight for
Mm-hmm.
DFS simply because we've watched Neal in two straight fights just not willing to throw, and that's not going to win you fights. I'm sorry. RDA could win this a few ways. He could just throw more volume because we've seen him do it, and he could get this to the mat. So I mean, RDA is definitely worth a play in multiple entry contests, or if you don't like any other dogs, because I fully expect him to score at least well. I don't see either of these guys getting finished, but for me and Neil is a complete fade.
And I only thing I'll say before you do this fight, I am a Neil fan, but be very fucking careful if you are considering him in parlays. Don't do it. If you go and maybe think that the fight doesn't finish, maybe Neil by decision, which you could probably get a decent line on that. Or if you just think that you know, time is catching up to RDA. Just play Neil by knockout. That's the one only way he'll win this fight is by knockout or decision. If you want to play that line, maybe you can get a decent line there. But yeah, don't parlay Neil this week because this is one that could potentially bust the parlays.
Definitely. So both of us are on the favorite to win in Jeff Neal. Next up, we have Ivo Aslan going against Rafael Cerquera. And I know that Cerquera is not exactly a prospect. He is 11-0, but he is also 34. Had a late start to his career. Uh, he's got some interesting wins if you look at him, but for me, the whole demo fights, they just don't do it for me out in Brazil. I don't think that competition is worth a damn. Not to say that he can't win this fight. He is powerful. There is no doubt about it. There is a lot of knockouts between these two guys. But for me, Ibo Aslan is just scary. And what he did in the Contender Series fight, and then in his first fight against a grappler, is very. It should be very worrisome for a lot of people in this division. Um, I fully expect Aslan to get this done again. I think he gets it done in the first round. He is only 28 years old, and man, he could just wreak havoc in this division.
So one thing I'll say is I've seen Eblo fight live. It was against Turcoli. His one loss, Turcoli did submit him a bit ago. And only thing that I think Aslan definitely needs to take care of is he was hittable as fuck in that fight. Turcoli was just, you saw what Turcoli did to his eye. His eye was busted the hell up. So you got to be careful when it comes to a fight like that. Because I think Rafa is the more powerful striker than Turcoli. Turcoli's just, I think Turcoli needs to go down to 85 if he can. Personally, I don't think he's a natural guy. Maybe we'll see him later on, but I hardly doubt it. Um, so the main reason why this dude Rafa got into the UFC pretty much, the last like two or three fights, his main trading partner, Jalton Almeida, kept telling the UFC, look at this guy. Look at this dude. He's undefeated. He finishes fights, and he's a dangerous guy. He's not the grappler of Almeida. I want to get that clear. He can grapple some. He has decent-ish takedowns, but he is the better grappler in this fight. He has two submissions. But how I see this fight, and one thing I don't like about Rafa, even though he's a nice dude, I had conversations with him. I've seen in his striking, he does leave his guard down. And if you leave your guard down and he does tend to back up, Ebo is going to come forward and try to Vitor Belfort you. And that's how he pretty much fights. He bites down his mouthpiece and he swings. And all 13 wins are by KO, 11 in round one. I almost went with the Brazilian because I like the well-roundedness. And I saw how it got moved up the card. Originally, it was the second fight. Now it got moved up. And usually when I see that type of fight get moved up, the UFC is hoping whoever wins this, maybe they can give them a little push. Maybe one more win, then see if maybe they can get a top 15 type opponent. If that's the case, I'm going Aban. I've seen him fight live. He's a dangerous puncher and
Pick switch.
pick switch. Yes, I'll say that right now because look, nothing against this Rafa. Can this Rafa dude maybe take him down? Maybe. Or get his back and do something? Yes. One of these days, I think Ozon is going to get chinned because he does leave his chin up to get hit. But you
Depends. We'll
better
see
go.
if he learned from his last fight.
Yes, if he did, then he's going to win this fight.
But there's also Rafael is also he had been. I mean, he started at 205,
Yep.
but his last two fights have come at heavyweight. He also did. There was a couple of times where he had issues making weight at 205, so it's gonna be something to watch as they get weight in. Um, I mean, it could also. I don't know, where he was a month ago, but if he's got issues cutting, then he'll have issues with cardio. And if this makes it out of round one and they've both taken a bunch of damage, I'll take Aslan all day.
From what I've seen so far through social media, it looked like he's been having a good cut. But
Okay.
social
Well,
media,
either way, I mean, these guys are 8,000 and 8,200 on DFS. They're going to
pick
be
your side.
super, super, super owned. And yeah, but I'm on Aslan. I think he's going to be just
I may
ridiculous.
play him round one, which there's no props for that fight yet, which absolute
So
sucks. Oh no, there is props.
both of us are on the slight favorite in Aslan. Actually, it's a pick.
Ooh. Yo, Aslan round one knockout plus 325.
Nice. So next up, we are moving to the main card where we have the one-eyed wonder Shara Magomedov going against Armen Petrosian. And Joey, are you once again on the bullet?
I am on the one-eye pirate. That's exactly who I'm on. He was almost another flag. And but I will say this is a fight I may stay away from though. This is gonna be two strikers. I know Petrosian has come out and said, oh, they used to train a long time ago together. A long time ago. And he tried to come out and say, Guess what? I know where his weaknesses are. I need to. So you're telling me Petrosian, who's like a 22% average for a takedown, is going to take down him? Was he going to hold him? Maybe try to do some clinch? No, like I know people that are picking Petrosian in this fight. No. So this is how I pretty much see the fight going. Shara is going to be the one head tacking, but I will give Petrosian, he does throw kicks. So that's going to be like who strikes do more damage there. And without a finish, there's no chance in hell either side pays off. But I got Shara.
Yep. Nope. I am also on Shara. I am not impressed by Petrosian whatsoever. I know that he's eventually going to be a time where Shara's weaknesses do get well, let me say this, his weaknesses and his bad decisions, because if you go and watch all of his fights, he's made bad decisions in just about all of them. He will eventually get caught. I do not think it's going to be this fight. Petrosian has not shown us anything, and neither of these guys score well in wins. I do not expect it to happen here. So this for me is entirely a fade. If you really wanted to, you could go contrarian and take Magomedov, hoping that he puts up 150 strikes. I don't see it happening, but that is what it is. So both of us are on the favorite end, Shara Magomedov. Next up, we have Dan Ige going against Lerone Murphy. And I am finally getting on the Murphy train. I have not been on it because I did not care for the way that he fought. Um, his last fight really impressed me when he beat the shit out of Barboza. Uh, Not to say that Dan Ige is a bad fighter. I've been on him in a lot of his fights, not his last one because Diego Lopez is my boy. But Ige looked good in that fight, and it was a very odd and difficult, situation due to all the weight cuts and everything. But he looked good against Lopez, and will he have his moments in this fight? I'm sure that he will because he's just a tough son of a bitch. But Murphy, man, he is such a complete fighter. His striking is crisp. He can take you down. I uh I fully expect Murphy to get done, and I know a bunch of others are going to be super heavily owned on Murphy.
So, who was on the Murphy train first? That was me. Um, he's going to decisions, but his last fight, he got into his first big war and he was very, very impressive. He outstruck Barbosa. He looked very good. And
He did
the
more than
only thing
outstrike.
I will say about this is if I know Ige would use his wrestling, which how often does he really use it? Not too much. He fell in love with his hands. But he does have that one touch power. If he does land clean, there's a chance Murphy's lights could go to sleep.
Hmm.
Um, so that's a GPP play right there. If you're trying to get different as a dog, Ige's not a bad option, but I think he's gonna need a finish because I think Murphy's definitely gonna keep him at bay, work his 1-2s and kicks, and I don't know if he'll mix in grappling per se. He could maybe to secure rounds in the end, but I'm going Murphy. I'm leaning a decision, but I'm kind of scared to parlay him because this fight kind of gives me like
Hmm.
split
But
decision
this
vibe out the
now that
ass.
I've taken Murphy, he's gonna lose.
Don't do that. But if there's a finish, I think there's a chance that Ige lands clean. I think Murphy could get clipped, but I got Murphy.
Yeah, it's Murphy's fight to lose, in my opinion. So both of us are on the favorite in Murphy. Next up, we got Magomed Ankalaev going against Alexander Rakic. And Joey, are you going with the moderately super heavy favorite, or are you going with the dog?
I'm going Magomed. I know that everyone keeps saying, "No, give the man a title shot." I'm like, look, guess what? He had a title shot. You know what? It went to a fucking draw. So guess what? Everyone's saying, "Oh, give him a title shot." Yeah, a title shot. He didn't do shit with it.
It wasn't though. He won that fight.
He won that fight, but realistically, no, it shouldn't have been no fucking draw. But then everyone's like, "Oh, he had no contest with Johnny Walker." And guess what? He did get Johnny Walker in the second fight. He slept him. And apparently, Ankalaev already came out and said that apparently, if he wants to get a title fight, he better look impressive in this fight. So,
That's what he was told by
so
Dana.
So it depends on if Ankalaev is going to take that serious. If he does, then he's easily better everywhere than Rakic. One thing I'll say though, Rakic is no fucking bum though. He's not. Think
Is
about
he?
it. I don't think he's a bum. Look, he was doing all right versus Jan in their first fight versus Jan Blachowicz. He was looking fine. And then what happened? He got hurt. He missed some time. Then I thought maybe the UFC would give him a winnable fight his next fight. He fought Yuri. And guess what? He was piecing up fucking Yuri. He was piecing him up until he got caught in round two.
Yuri
So
just
think
wasn't striking.
about
Yuri
this.
was playing with his food, is what he was doing. Go back and watch the fight.
I'll have to go back then and watch it, but
He was playing with his food. That's why he knocked him out in the second round.
like DFS, I'm not touching Magomed. I'm not. Because I think he's just gonna strike the whole fight. I really do. I don't think he's gonna mix in any wrestling. And honestly, bro, I don't know if he gets a finish either. I know Dana's like, oh, you better get a finish. Magomed, if I knew he had more dog in him, I'd play him at 9,400. Because, two or three losses by Rakic are by knockout. One's due to an injury, and then round two, he got caught.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not playing this fight for DFS because I have so many unknowns what Mama Gomed's gonna go look like. But if I had to dumpster dive, Rack is dog or pass for me. Don't mean I'm gonna get to it, but if I had to stack up all these other favorites, which, bro, I only picked one dog so far, and that's why I'm
Same.
probably gonna stick more to a sports book type of night for me. Because when I don't have more than three or four dogs, it's hard to build DFS lines for me.
We don't even have a different pick yet.
Oh shit,
They've
that's a
all been the
first.
same.
Um,
Not a first.
eh, for the most part, it
But
can be, but
anyways,
I'm on Ankalaev.
with Ankalaev, I agree. I don't have him as a play either. And the reason that I don't like Rakic is his volume is just too low. And you can't have that going into these fights. Um, I'm curious to see which version of Ankalaev we're going to get. The old boring version who just toys and screws around in the ring, or the one we saw last fight with Johnny Walker, where he was just hyper aggressive and just demolished him. I hope we get that version.
Yes.
If we get that version, you might see Ankalaev score, 110 plus, but it's really hard to say. So for me, both of these guys are GPP plays, but I do like Ankalaev to get this done. So both of us are on the heavy favorite. Next up, we have the co-main event. We got Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whitaker going against Hamzat Chimaev, and everybody, what nobody was sure that this fight was going to happen, given
I still don't.
Chimaev.
I still don't.
I, yeah, who knows? Chimaev has pulled out, several times over the last few years now because of injuries and illnesses and whatever. And I'm glad that he's finally getting back into the ring if he does fight. Uh, we've seen Chimaev just completely maul everybody that he's fought, aside from Usman, who he did have his struggles with. But uh, Usman to me is kind of after that loss that he took to Edwards, he kind of just fell apart. Whitaker, I mean, Whitaker's a beast, man. He's got some of the best striking in the UFC. He's tough. He's hard to take down. And even if he does get taken down, he's got his own wrestling that he can fall back on. He just doesn't really use it very often. I don't see I think Chimaev in the first round is going to go for several takedowns. I'm not sure how much success he's going to have with him. And if he doesn't find success, I fully expect Whitaker to just tee off on him. Given how long it's been since Chimaev has fought and all the stuff that he's gone through, I don't expect his cardio to be that great. We could see him fall apart after 7.5 minutes in this fight, and it's going to be Whitaker all day. I'm on the dog. I'm not going against my boy. I'm going Bobby Knuckles.
So I'll say this. I'm a big Whitaker guy. We were both on Whitaker his last fight, and everyone looked at us like we were freaking the biggest jackasses in the world. And guess what? I had me a nice cash in like that night on DFS, and I played Whitaker by knockout. That was the easiest bread and butter move. I look, Chimaev as a prospect is good. Has he? I'll tell you the truth. I thought maybe he should have fought another name outside of Whitaker because Whitaker is a tough SOB. I thought maybe we should have seen because Chimaev's what ranked like 13 or so, or not
10,
even top 10 yet. I
10.
thought maybe he should have got a guy from like 6 to where he's at personally. And I like Whitaker. So I'm gonna say this, break it down and listen to it carefully. I am picking Chimaev, right? But now here, this is where this part will come in. I'm picking Chimaev because he looks healthy so far from what I've seen, and that's good because I kept saying every time he kept breaking down his fights, he could be a champion. Could. I still think. I'll tell you right now. I think if he gets past Whitaker, I don't think he gets a belt. I think he gets one more fight, unless they depending on where they're fighting, of course. But like this is how I see it. Chimaev is gonna wrestle early, probably within the first 7 minutes. Right? I'm telling you, first 7 minutes. Listen to this breakdown. I'm telling you, because I may do this way too. 7 minutes. I think he's going to be live. I think he might try to hold Whitaker. Whitaker's going to have success at some points. After round two, look at Chimaev. I will tell you this. If you see him puffing in the corner, live bet the shit out of Whitaker. I'm telling you, live bet the shit out of Whitaker after round two. If it gets there. Because is there a chance that Chimaev could get him down early and maybe do something? That's live. If Whitaker stops the takedowns early, anyone that has a betting ticket on Chimaev is going to be shitting their pants because Whitaker's going to throw hands. Because two things happen. At the round two, if he looks tired, I'm betting Whitaker because you're going to get a good plus money odd on that one. And this is very bold. If it gets out of round three, I don't think this is a Chimaev type of thing, but if he's gassed, I have a feeling he might quit on the stool. Because all he had his all health issues and everything else. Depends on the pace of Whitaker gives. If Whitaker is more patient because this is a 5-round fight, maybe this fight could go on and Whitaker wins a
All right.
decision early.
Can I try and deter you before you lock in your answer?
Oh, I'm not fully locked in because, like I said, like I'm not putting no bet on Chimaev.
Oh, I know, but
DFS,
you're. I want to see if I can get you to change your pick before we end this.
before you do, I will say this. Anybody that does watch the show, I do a pub. We do a parlay part, and I did say Chimaev as my single parlay piece, and I'm kind of smacking myself in the head about it. But that's primarily due. I think he gets a finish early. If he doesn't, I'm probably going to shit bricks. But all
Okay,
right, go
well,
ahead.
here's why, and I was saving this for tomorrow in case I was able to do the RotoWire podcast, but I'm going to pull it out now to try to sway you. Who has Bobby Knuckles, the Reaper, Mr. Whitaker? Who has he lost to that as a wrestler? Now, he has lost to one.
Trying to think on top of my head. Was it? It wasn't at
You
185.
you have to go all the way back to
Ooh,
2013.
13. That was when he was young in his career. Coming probably off a few fights from that Australian tough season. And he said he lost.
He lost. There was only one takedown in that fight.
So wait, was this guy
But
actually a wrestler or the guy just got the takedown?
the guy he's a wrestler.
Ooh, fuck.
Nowadays he's more of a striker, but I mean he had some good wrestling back in the day.
Um, shit, I
So
can't. That's I'm not even trying to cheat because I only got my phone on me, but fuck, a
he
wrestler early.
lost. So he lost to Court McGee.
Did he
Now,
really?
since then, he has obviously only lost to pure strikers.
Like
That would
Adesanya.
be he lost back-to-back fights back then, McGee, and then he lost to Stephen Thompson.
Yep.
And then he doesn't lose again until he fights Izzy in 2019. And then he fights Izzy again and loses in 2022.
Which I thought he won in 2022.
But then in 2023, he lost to another striker that the only
Drakus.
time I've ever gone against him was
Drakus.
Dricus Plessis. Now, if he can fight pretty much the entire division and avoid being taken down, who knows how many times? He's got 82% takedown defense. He's got his own wrestling. What is Hamzat going to be able to do differently? Because what he likes to do is he likes to go and he likes to pick people up and he likes to, slam them down and whatever, whatever. Do you honestly believe that Hamzat is going to be able to push Bob Whitaker to the fence or in the open and take him down like that?
Take him down like that? No.
Do you think he's
No.
going to be able to trip a guy like Whitaker
That's
and keep
the
him down?
so the only way I said that because maybe off a weird trip, similar to what Drake has got him down to. Not like a traditional takedown, one of those weird type takedowns. Similar to Holland, because originally, remember, Holland stuffed the first couple takedowns, but they were body holding, rolling around like roly poly oly.
But
That's the way how I see it.
even with Dricus when he took him down, he had 57 seconds of control time. That was it. Bobby got back up.
Yep.
So what is Hamzat gonna do to keep him down on the mat? If he can find it, if he can get the takedown. And even
Honestly,
so,
bro,
with the judges that we have had, is Hamzat really going to be able to put enough damage on him, or is he just going to hold him down and get the L anyways because they don't care for that anymore?
look, they're in that type of country to where the ambassador of that area, if you look him up, I forget his name, it is like the big beard looking people. And you telling me if it's a close fight and it goes five, you should know Whitaker's probably going to lose because they're going to, probably D-ride Shemaev. And I'll be real about that. They're probably going to D-ride the shit out of him. But that's why I think after round two, if Shemaev's gassed, you throw the house on Whitaker,
I
personally.
fully expect him to be gassed at least in the even if it goes 2 or 3 rounds. I think he's gassed for the championship rounds.
Then you live bet. That's what I said. Live bet Whitaker.
So, all right. Well, we are split on that pick. I'm going with the dog and Robert Whitaker. Joey's going with Hamzat Chimaev. Fortunately, there are a lot of people on Hamzat. I don't
Yeah.
hate the play. The numbers are creeping up for Whitaker. I like it.
Let me see what the line is.
Some people are smart. Um, Hamzat's
Shemaev's
like
minus
minus
250.
240. Yeah. So next up, we have the main event. We have Ilya Topuria going against Max Holloway. Joey, where are you going?
It sucks because I know we both were on Max Holloway versus Gaethje, and that was another one where everyone's like, "Oh, he's coming back up to 155. He's not going to be the same." And you know what? Who made money that night? Me and you. And I didn't expect the knockout, but that was the most insane knockout I've ever seen in probably my fucking life. But I know we both like Topuria. You were on the Topuria train before me. I'll give you credit for that because there was one fight I did pick against him. It was Jai Herbert, and I almost shit myself because I thought he was going to knock him out. The head kick.
Almost did.
Almost did. He almost put him to the shadow realm. I remember I had a conversation with Drake earlier. I'll make it quick. I'm not going to say every word because that was a long paragraph. I didn't even type all that. To sum it up, the second attempt when he came up to 155 versus Gaethje, if you notice, he had more muscle mass. He actually looked good. He was good framed out. His cardio was always good, no matter 45 or 55. I just don't like how he's going to lose majority of that muscle, cutting down to 45.
It's not going to lose the muscle.
He's going to lose a good portion of that muscle mass he had for 55 because he didn't cut much weight. He cuts like at like 165 to get to 45, which that's 20 something pounds. So you're losing some muscle. So going down another 10 pounds, I don't like that. But like I said, he can always do it. I'm never ever going to say Holloway's ever going to miss weight. He's a guy. So look, weren't me and you both on Volk versus Topuria? The one time that we were against, no, it was my second time I was against Topuria. I was like, look, Volk is probably going to win the minutes. And guess what? Volk was winning the minutes. He was hitting them with straight shots.
Yeah, he just made a
And
mistake
he made a
twice in a row.
mistake, and Topuria absolutely put him to the shadow realm. One thing I'll say about Topuria, I don't like going into this fight. And I understand why he's doing it. He's trying to promote the fight, sell the tickets, get people to buy the pay-per-view. That part I respect. But if his
Before
game
you
plan,
make your pick, let
okay,
me, in case you are on Topuria, I want to go into something. Okay.
okay, go ahead.
I know you're on Topuria, but before you say it and lock it in, this is Max Holloway we're talking about. This is the guy that has throws more volume than anybody the UFC has ever seen, more than any promotion in the world has ever seen.
Yeah,
Does it with pure precision. He does it with such a technicality that he's almost impossible to stop. Now, to stop him, yes, you generally have to put him on the ground. That's what Volk was really good at. The problem is Topuria is not as good as Volk when it comes to that. Topuria knocked Volkanovski out with a head kick. I'm going to say this, and I am going. There would be a lot of people
wait, it
that would.
wasn't a head kick. It was a cross.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking of the other guy.
Islam.
And I on because Volk had already been kind of ruffled. We'll call it. He seems to be going, downhill. He at least, it is what it is. His chin was obviously becoming very lax, and any type of headshot like that is going to be difficult. Max is taller than Volk. I don't think Topuria is going to be able to get up that high with any type of kick, and I honestly don't think that Topuria's punches are that powerful. I really don't. You look at the guys that he knocked out in the UFC. One was Damon Jackson.
No chin.
who's a grappler, no chin. Ryan Hall, who's not even in the UFC anymore, is a pure grappler, no chin. He knocked out Jai Herbert, who everybody is seemingly, just beating the shit out of. And he was not able to put away the likes of Zalal, Mitchell, or Emmett. Now,
He submitted Slaw. Not Slaw. He submitted Mitchell.
correct, but he didn't knock him out, and Mitchell's
No.
pretty easy to knock out if you get the chance to.
Yep.
I'm not saying that Topuria doesn't have power. What I'm saying is he does not have the power of Justin Gaethje, who was unable to put away Max Holloway. And Max has the best chin, one of the best chins,
I've ever
one of the
seen.
best cardio. His striking is second to none. There is no way that Topuria wins this fight without getting him to the mat. I don't think that he's going to do it with enough success that it's going to be whatever. What I think we see is I think we see a very close match in the first two rounds, and you're going to see Topuria wearing a bunch of damage. You're not going to see Holloway with much of any, and then it's just going to go downhill for Topuria. It's going to be Topuria's face is not going to look the same after this fight if it goes all 5 rounds. So I am all over Holloway. I am going to play. I'm going to bet him. I'm going to play him. He is going to be locked into every piece of my thing. I This is not a fight that Holloway is going to lose.
So before I actually announce my pick, I'm going to say something. There's only two people that actually know what I'm about to say. It's you and another buddy of mine. No matter who I pick for the main event, go opposite. Because Drake knows I haven't been able to pick a good main event no matter if we agreed or disagreed. So I know we were both on Ferreira, and usually we are always on Fluffy. That bit was on the ass. Fluffy pretty much. No, I don't even want to say what I was going to say. I'll tell you after the stream. But I think I have this. If I was going to change my fight pick on one, it might be this one. After the recording, I'm picking Topuria, and I may need to see it first before something happens. I need to see it to believe it. I'm not saying I love Max. We've both been on Max since he's gotten to the UFC, and the way people are talking, man, people are saying, "Oh, Max is old." I'm like, he's a year.
He's not
He's not
old.
even a year older than me, and I'll be
He's not
32
old.
this year. He's 32.
He's just been in the UFC forever.
Very long time, over almost 30 fights. Well, this would be his 30th fight, exact. So, if I was to change my mind, then this would probably be the one I'd probably do it with. One thing I will say is anyone that's on the Topuria side, I'm sorry, Topuria's not knocking him out round one. If he does, the whole world might shut down, personally. Because I don't see it happening. I don't. I see more of him. Is he going to strike a little bit? Maybe. But if Topuria wants to win, which he acts like most of the time he does want to win, he is going to probably have some clinch exchanges, and he is going to go for takedowns if he's a smart man. If you're playing Topuria and you think Topuria wins, I will say this. If you think Topuria wins, this is a stackable fight if you think Topuria wins, because Holloway will throw volume out the ass.
Correct.
But if you are on Holloway, which is not a bad pick, I will say that right now, not a bad pick, do not stack this fight. Because if Holloway wins, he's going to probably break the slate at 74. Topuria 88 is not going to pay off shit in a loss. So go with your gut. If you think Topuria wins, there's a good chance this fight could go stackable. But if you're on Holloway, just play Holloway straight. And like I said, if anyone does see, there are times where I do change my mind. I always put it underneath in the comments in the video. And there's maybe 2 fights on here I may do that with. Maybe 3, but because honestly, I only picked one dog.
Yep.
And I always sometimes the switching does work for me. So we'll see. Stay tuned for that. Maybe if you follow me on Twitter at Joe DFS Betting, I'll put them out, and you guys can stay alert for that.
For sure. So we are split on that one. Joey has the favorite in Topuria. I have the dog in Max Holloway. That wraps up UFC 308. It should be a hell of a card, like we said earlier in the video. This card is early. It is in Abu Dhabi. It starts at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Get your stuff in before that. As for next week, we have another fight night. We got Moreno versus Albazi. Decent card, not the great. It's a fight night. It is what it is, but fights are fights. So, Joey, you got anything else to add?
If you guys want to see another potential breakdown, maybe I'll have some picks change. Tune in to RotoWire tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern on RotoWire MMA on YouTube. I got asked to be on. I always like being on with those group of guys. They're good people. Make sure you tune in. Make sure to subscribe to them also. And maybe I'll have a couple pick changes by then. I'm always watching fights. I always change my mind on other areas. So, and make sure, what? I want to see some fucking likes on this video too, man. Like the video. Share it out to your mom, dad, grandma, your dog. Anybody you want to share it out to. Let's get those comments popping. Let's hear your predictions.
All righty. Well, as always, we appreciate you watching, and we will catch you next week.